Ruth Gruber is an outstanding individual. She was born September 30th, 1911, and as a child she dreamed of becoming a writer. This seemed almost impossible when she was a child because women weren't really socially accepted to have jobs. Like, it wasn't the norm. So that dream already set her in her footsteps for becoming what she is today. She was a gifted student. She was accepted into the University of Cologne on a scholarship to study in Germany there. So she went there, and after graduating she received a doctorate degree, making her the youngest person to ever have received a PhD at the age of 20. So that was intense. After studying Cologne, she became the first foreign correspondent to fly through Siberia into the Soviet Arctic and cover the Soviet Arctic as a photojournalist and just a female journalist. She was, like, she had a lot of first things. She was just crazy. So, but after covering that story, Harold Ikes, the Secretary of the Interior to President Roosevelt, saw her work and he liked it, so he sent her to Alaska to see if there was any housing, see if there was any room for housing there and any usable land. And so while she was working there, President Roosevelt decided to make this secret mission to take 1,000 Jewish refugees, maybe like 987 or something, Jewish refugees from Italy and bring them to the United States as guests of the president. And Ruth Gruber heard about this, and she was just like, they should have someone to meet and escort them and get their stories and like calm them down and stuff. So Harold Ikes was just told her to do it because he thought she would be perfect for the job. So she went to Italy, which was totally nothing she'd ever done before, really. Like a secret mission that could be potentially dangerous, but she didn't back down, and she did it. So when the passengers boarded the ship at Italy, she asked them if she could get their interviews because she wanted to know their stories. But most people didn't want to tell her, like, they didn't want to let her know how horrible things were, because most of them were still in like concentration camp uniforms, and like their stories were awful. But Ruth Gruber told them that this was their chance to tell America what actually happened to them and to get their stories told. So no one refused after that. Like, they just all told her their stories. And she was actually she was seen as a symbol of protection on the ship because her parents are Jewish immigrants to the US, so she can kind of relate to them, and she just showed so much understanding to their stories. So once they got to the US, they realized that they weren't going to be treated as guests. They didn't have any travel visas or any like written papers. Like, they couldn't live in the US, so they put them in barbed wire and treated them horribly, just as they had been in Italy. Like, they were treated badly. So Ruth Gruber lobbied to the president to get them to stay in the U.S. actually as citizens so they could live their normal lives safely. But this was in 1944 when they first came to the U.S., but it wasn't until 1946 that Ruth finally overcame them and won, and the 1,000 Jewish refugees were able to apply for residency in the U.S. and live safely. So after her mission, Ruth Gruber could have just left. She could have gone on with her life, got a new job, and just done what she wanted to do. But she definitely did not give up. She made sure that those refugees that she had become friends with on that ship had a safe place to live. So I think Ruth Gruber deserves to be remembered by just how caring she was and how determined she was to save people and do what she believed in. She didn't give up. And like, that's a hard thing to do when you're a woman living in that time. So, Ruth Gruber.